Bienvenidos to Pica Poco Kitchen. Today we're making biscuits. Vámonos! Biscuits became popular in Mexico in the late 19th century, thanks to an influx of Chinese immigration who settled in different areas of the country. But for purposes of this video, we're going to focus on Torreon, where Chinese immigrants opened coffee shops, where they would offer different baking goods. These baking goods were influenced by European bakers who were scattered all around the country, their own recipes using local ingredients. And that's how biscuits came to be, and we've been loving them since that moment on. Even though they share a name with the American biscuit, they have more of a resemblance to a scone. And their name comes from the French and it means double bake. Even though neither scones or biscuits are baked twice, this refers to a specific French baked good that it is baked twice to extend its shelf life, but that's a different story. I would describe a Mexican biscuit as a hybrid between a scone and a dinner roll. They are delicious and very easy to make, even when you try to sabotage yourself by making mistakes. There's a way to fix it, and everything's gonna be well in the end. Let's go. Okay, first we're gonna start with 170 grams of butter, which is 1 bar and a half. We're gonna cube it, put it in a bowl, and pop it back in our fridge while we do everything else. While the butter chills, we're gonna mix the dry ingredients. I have 2.5 cups of flour that I previously sifted, and to that I'm gonna add 2 teaspoons of baking powder and 1 teaspoon of salt. We'll give that a nice mix before transferring into our food processor. Now we're gonna add our chilled cubes of butter and we're gonna give it a couple of pulses. Do that until your butter is completely chopped up and your flour has the look and feel of sand, just like this. And now we're gonna use our butter flour to make a well. I normally do this in a big bowl, but I'm gonna go against my better judgment, do it in my table, and you'll see what happens next. Into the well, I'm gonna add 1 cup of milk. Room temp is fine. There's no need to heat it up. Into the milk, we're gonna add 7 grams of dry active yeast. Mix that well and make sure it bubbles a little bit. That signifies that your yeast is still active. On the outer skirt of my volcano, I'm gonna add 1/2 cup of sugar. Feel free to reduce it if you want them for a salty application. And now, disaster. The reason why I always like to do this inside a bigger bowl. Only to make it worse, I added an extra egg into my dough. That egg was meant for the egg wash. But among the commotion, I went on and added it in. Things started getting out of control, but I was determined to make it work. And here is when I realized that I had added that extra egg without thinking about it. So I just embraced the mess for a little while. I worked the dough in my hands until I moved on to a smarter option that was the bench scraper. Obviously, my dough was too wet, so I knew I had to incorporate extra flour to compensate for my mistake. I ended up adding an extra 1/2 cup of flour, but I did it while working my dough by sprinkle some on it while working with my hands and the bench scraper by using foldings and gentle doughing to incorporate all the dry flour. Once my dough became more manageable, I started doing a series of foldings in thirds by spreading my dough into a rectangle and folding it onto itself, overlapping top and bottom into the center. And because of all the extra handling I gave my dough, I decided to cover it with plastic and let it rest in the fridge for at least 20 minutes. If you didn't make my mistake, which of course you didn't, you can move on to this part. I gave my dough one final folding before rolling it into a more or less 15 by 8-inch rectangle. But if you would like your biscuits taller, then you can make your rectangle smaller. I will be using a 2.5-inch circle cutter, but you can go bigger. And if you have one of those who have ridges, your biscuits will look even prettier. When cutting your dough, remember not to twist the cutter. That will pinch the dough and won't allow your biscuits to rise as tall. So flour the cutter and firmly press straight down. Do as many as you can fit in your dough. Mexican biscuits have a very classic little nipple in the center. So I'm going to be using my 1-inch circle cutter to mark that little nipple. You don't want to go all the way down. Don't cut it. Just press enough to make an indent. Okay, and I'm pretty sure that the official name of this thing is not a nipple, but come on. Come on, look at them. I cannot be the only one who thought of this when looking at biscuits. And let me tell you, that's the best part of the whole biscuit. That's the part that I will save to eat last. Okay, now we'll remove the extra dough that we will fold and shape back into a rectangle to make more. But for now, we're gonna take the little biscuits and place them on a baking tray. And now we're gonna shape, cut, and repeat until we're done with our dough. And remember that egg that I say for the egg wash? Well, this isn't it. Add 1 egg into a bowl with 1 teaspoon of water, mix it well, and we're gonna be brushing our biscuits, not once but twice. First once to let them rest for 20 minutes, and then once more right before we put them in the oven. I had enough dough to make 2 batches plus 2 biscuits, and the remainings of the cutting that I had left behind, I smooshed it together to make one last funny looking, funky nipple, which is this one right there. And I forgot to film the next part, but I gave them another wash after the 20 minutes and then placed them on my oven preheated at 400 Fahrenheit. Bake between 12 to 15 minutes or until the tops are golden. And of course, I have to give them a try, and the funky baby goes first. Who can resist a funky nipple? And here we have them. Mistakes and all, they turn out great. They aren't as tall as I would have liked them, but that's because of the extra egg that I added. It made the dough a little bit denser. But that can also be fixed just by spreading your dough a little bit thicker. I really like the size that I use, but you can make them bigger if you want. Giving them the double egg wash will ensure you get that shiny golden top that is characteristic of Mexican biscuits. Eat them as soon as they come out of the oven with jam, marmalade, butter, cream, anything you like. And if they're been there for one day, then you can just put them in your toaster and they're going to come out fresh as new. You can have them for breakfast, for brunch, for late supper, late night snack, whatever you want. Or just like me, any moment of the day snack by themselves with a nice cup of coffee. They are firm but soft at the same time, just like I imagine Pedro Pascal to be. All that nipple talking got me flustered. But I hope you make enough so you can share them with your friends. Just like this video, like, subscribe, and be notified. And for more, follow me on the socials. Adios, amigues.